Okay. All right, are we ready to go?
So,
Are we ready to go, Nicole, Monique?
we're ready. If
okay.
Kenya and Mark and yourself are ready.
All right, well, let's get started then. Since we don't have any outsiders, I won't go through the formal introduction that we would go through, since everybody here is either CAB or they're accustomed to our functions. So why don't we get to work? And what we're going to do is we're going to start with introductions. First of all, this is the CAB Outreach and Community Engagement Subcommittee. We will begin our work. Let's have introductions first from CAB members. Could we start with Mark?
Hey, well, good morning. I'm Mark Thomas. I live up here in Oakley, which is East County. This is my first, I guess you call it year. Officially, I began in January. So, and I'm on this committee and no other. So that's it for me. I'll pass it over to Dale.
Yeah, Dale Harrington, central part of the county. I live in Rossmore, and Mark and I joined the same time.
Excellent. McKenya.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nick Kenya. I am a CAB member. I've been here for a little over a year, I believe. I'm still learning my way through everything, but happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikenya. And I'm Crawford Carpenter. And I think Nikenya and I signed on about the same time. So we're both here and we're, what is it, soulmates. Can we go to Scott and then follow that up with Dawn?
Sure. My name is Scott Parsons, and I'm not a fully vetted member of the club yet, but close, right? So I live in Moraga and have a history of working throughout Contra Costa and the criminal justice system.
Great, Scott. Dawn?
I'm Dawn Morrow. I am a representative for Supervisor Diane Burgess, and I'm just here in case you have any questions.
We'll call you our resource person, Dawn, so stay with us. Okay, Monique?
I am Monique Tate. I work for the Office of Reentry and Justice, and I am here to support you for whatever you need, and happy to be here today.
Okay, Monique, you're breaking up just a little bit. And then finally, to the lady that stirs the drink, Nicole.
Nicole Popchak, also with the Office of Reentry and Justice and staff to CAB.
Okay, let's move next to, are there any announcements? Any announcements?
I'm going to post one in the chat. It's relevant to, well, we'll be talking about some of this in this committee today, I'm sure. But we did launch, ORJ did launch a newsletter for recruitment, a more formal recruitment process for CAB for the 3 alternate seats that are vacant. And we have applications that are due the 28th. Gosh, is that next Thursday already? Yep. So we have 1 application. So hoping to get the word out. So I posted in the chat our online application, CAB's online application, when the applications are due. And then, of course, they can contact me for more questions. But most of you already have this information. So if you could forward it along and get the word out.
Okay, well, again, thank you. Any more? Any announcements? Jill, thank you for joining us. Any announcements from your vantage point, Jill?
I have nothing for you this morning.
Doggone it. Okay, Jill, well, thank you. Let's move next then to public comment. Is there any public comment on any item under the jurisdiction of the Community Advisory Board that's not on this agenda or on OCEC? Any public comment? I don't see any. Nicole, do you see any, or Monique? I don't see anybody. All
No.
right then. Okay, let's move to the next. This is item number 3. This will be approval of the minutes from our March 15th meeting, which was, what is it? That was our CAB OCEC subcommittee meeting. Please go to attachment 1, pages 4 to 6. Hopefully you've had a chance to review those. And we'll give you basically 1 more minute, and then we'll get on with our agenda to get down to some important items to address. So we'll start now, and hopefully we'll look the minutes over. Okay, that's about a minute. Would we, by chance, is there any discussion regarding the minutes? Any discussion? May we have a motion for approval then?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from March 15th, 2022.
Thank you, Mark. Is there a second?
This is Nick Kenya, and I second.
Thank you very much, Nakenya. Is there any discussion by the board or discussion from the public or public comment? None being, let's call the vote, please. Nicole?
Crawford,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Nakenya.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
And thank you. Let's move to the next item then on the agenda. And this is the membership status. Again, if you'd be kind enough to go to your packet, attachment 2, page 7. And this is our current situation. And by the way, thank you, Monique and Nicole, or Nicole and Monique, whoever put this together, because this really lays out our current situation as to where we are, and most important, where we need to go. So thank you. Please note at the top that we've listed all of our CAB members, those that are currently involved versus those that are going to be, hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed, with Terry, with Lenita, and with Scott. So this is our board makeup right now. We will keep our fingers crossed and we'll move forward. If you look just below the first box, you'll see each of the committees here. You see their meeting times as well as the dates. And I like that we put on here, for example, the third Tuesday or third Thursday or third Friday. It's probably very good from a planning standpoint. Now, this is going to be somewhat in the air. We'll call this, these are our fluid assignments. And as certain things develop, people are officially added to CAB, we'll have a better sense of each of these committees. let me stop now. Are there any questions or comments pertaining to the first two blocks on the on your screen? Any comments or questions? Okay, none being. The next item we had on our agenda is that we're supposed to discuss applications. Oh, wait a minute, supposed to discuss applications. And we do have somebody in the queue, and I wanted to remind everyone, and that it will be a Mr. Boston. And we will be meeting with him this coming, I believe it's Tuesday, correct?
May 3rd is when the special meeting is going to happen for this group. Because your guys' next regular scheduled meeting is actually May 17th, but we're putting in place a special meeting with this recruitment plan that we put in place. And he is one of them that has applied, hoping to get more. Applications are due next Thursday, the 28th, and then we'll have the special meeting for this group on Tuesday, May 3rd.
Perfect then.
From
So-
11 to 12:30, which is the normal time, or
Perfect.
not normal
Yeah.
scheduled time, but normal time. Yeah.
Okay, and the subject of that meeting will be just to interview the individual, Mr. Boston. That's all we'll be dealing with at that meeting. So if there
I
are,
invited him back to that meeting. I had not gotten a confirmation RSVP from him. So Crawford, I'll follow up with you offline. It might be worth you possibly giving him a call.
all right. And then maybe one other thing now, just from a process standpoint, if he is not available at that meeting, do we still review his application?
So we're trying to time this for the June 3rd CCP because that's the end of the line, right, as far as process. And so I guess worst case that we could interview him in the general meeting on the 12th of May. But we can work that out if he's not able to join the special meeting on May 3rd.
All right. We'll have to figure something out because I did look at his application. It was sparse, to say the least. There wasn't a lot there. There wasn't a lot of meat in there. And that's why I think in this case, it's important to be able to talk to the individual. So I wanted to share that with the group.
And everyone should have, that's on this particular subcommittee should have received the application because you guys are all set to receive them when they come in automatically. So Mark and Kenya, you should have received an email for his application as well. And that'll be true for all of them that come through.
Excellent. And by the way, that's, I think by initiating that particular step, it allows us to get a jump on preparing, getting set, just like I've already had a chance to review it, and then we're ready to go and we can be time efficient when, when we meet with the individual. So thank you for that. Okay, are we ready to go? Any other questions on membership status? Anything here prior to going to the next item? Okay, then let's go to the next item. That's item number 5. And this is to review our updated work plan. Please go to page 8 and attachment 3. And this is where we are.
If there's any adjustments, I'll pull up the hard, the Word doc, because I like to make them live if we're gonna make any adjustments.
And maybe we should just go through these briefly to see where we are. Do you want to walk us through this, or do you want me to walk through it, Nicole or Monique?
I mean, I can help facilitate. So we basically have this broken up in 2 different task sections: membership cultivation and community outreach. So the top portion is all driven towards outcomes and goals towards the membership cultivation. Task 1, CAB does have a diversity survey that they traditionally send out every year in January. I know that this particular subcommittee, we have not sent that out. I don't know if we need to. but this, reviewing the knowledge base of all of the members on the board is is as part of the application process as well in your guys' interviews. So if you want to send out that diversity survey, we can. We had not done that. We didn't get direction from the subcommittee to do that yet. So that's what task 1 is. Any Crawford, McKinney, and Mark, any thoughts about task 1?
What's that? Excuse me, I had to turn off that phone. Then what do? They call again. Oh, well. You're on task 2 here?
Task 1, the diversity survey, if it's on here as a task, if we're going to be just handling that part of the interview process, or if you guys actually wanted to distribute amongst the full body the diversity survey that we have used in the past.
Why don't we get some feedback first from either Nakenya or Mark? Nakenya, what's your view on that diversity survey that we filled out last year?
Can you see me?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So your idea of distributing this through, the way that we're doing it and the way that we're talking about doing it, are the idea that Nicole mentioned, the last one, just kind of distributing it around to us and letting us fill it out.
Well, I think the question is, do we want to send that survey out or just handle that? As the whole point, I guess, of survey is to make sure that the body is balanced from a knowledge-based standpoint, as far as folks' background. And the purpose of that survey was to, especially at the beginning of the year, so that we could kind of, survey where we're at right now as far as folks' experience on the board. But you guys are also kind of tackling that in your interview process when you're considering an applicant. So I think the question is on the table is if you guys want to send that survey around this year or pass on it this year.
We can send it around because the last time we discussed like the body's knowledge of what was going on here, we understood that not everyone necessarily had any personal experience with a family member or themselves in the system. And so we were pretty relaxed on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mark.
Thank you. Thank you, Nakenya. Mark, any observations from your vantage point?
I was just thinking, I agree with Nakenya that it could be useful. I don't think it should be used in any way to disqualify anyone but I think it's good to give us an idea where people are at. So we should pass it around again.
Okay, then.
Did you guys want to see that again before I send it out? I don't know if you guys recall what the questions that were on it.
That'd be good.
Yeah, the review.
So I can bring that maybe back next time, Crawford, to the May, well, maybe not the May 3rd special meeting, but the May 17th regular meeting.
That would be fine.
Okay.
Yes. And I agree with my 2 colleagues here. Let's fill it out and send it. It's, it gives us kind of, a look at the landscape of where we are. So let's go ahead and do it. We'll have a preview of it and then we'll go from there. Next item.
Task 2, having the application listed appropriately on the website. I feel like we can check that box off, but
Yes.
It's an online application now, which goes right into your guys' inboxes when folks submit. So unless there's additional work that you guys want to do there, that is kind of a checkbox. Task 3, outreach. So this is actually agendized people below for us to discuss this, which is identifying contacts for helping to recruit. And I think specifically with a West County focus. And so that is what that task is about, all focused around recruitment. So that work is being done now, or at least in this meeting, we're starting that work. Task 4, the outreach will be reviewing with ORJ applications and following the bylaws to create an application pool. So that's kind of, I guess, the second task. The application is sent, we review it, right? And we are doing that. It's an ongoing process.
Yes, yes.
And then task 5 is essentially referencing the interview process, which is again ongoing. And unless there's a specific aspect of those interviews and how we handle those interviews, that work that process is already created.
And you know what, the best example of that is, I think this body, this group, we've gone out of our way to have a special meeting to, hopefully interview Mr. Boston and others. So, hey, we can check that one off. It's ongoing, and hey, we're moving forward with that one.
And you guys have agreed to have not standard questions, but it's left open during the informal interview process at this subcommittee level, as well as the full body, correct? I just want to make sure we're on the same page. And Crawford, I know that you've generated some standard questions, but just in general, the process is it's open for us to ask, questions outside of a standard template, correct?
Correct. No, I'm comfortable with that. I can use my questions, and they're also available to other members of the committee if they desire to use them. So I'm very comfortable with that. So all is good.
Okay. I just want to make sure if there's any questions. I see Dale has his hand up.
I just have a comment. In my interview, I really appreciated the fact that Crawford asked focused questions based on information that I had in my application.
Well, you know what's so interesting, Dale, and I think the benefit of that is now Mark and Kenya, as well as myself and whoever becomes the new chair, with the system that Nicole and Monique have set up, you get the heads up, as we had referenced before, where it'll give you time to think and kind of sift a little bit through the application and come up with some personalized questions. So I think that the committee's really moving in the right direction, and I tip my hat to you, Nikenya. You got us started in all of this last year. So we're just picking up the baton and moving forward. So thank you. Next item.
Did we want to speak really briefly about the responsible persons here to some of these items or tasks? Just the kind of background there. Task 1, obviously, the full body is filling out this survey. And then Crawford, you're leading the space as far as application is concerned, which again, that's kind of already checked off. Mark was taking the lead in, although everyone's kind of participating in this effort for task 3, leading the way for developing a list or identifying a list of those contacts to outreach for recruitment. And then all subcommittee members for task 4, which is reviewing membership application. That's kind of common sense there because everyone's weighing in on that, right? And then same is true for the interview process.
Okay, excellent then.
Okay, community outreach. So we have a few tasks here. Specifically, we have an overview PowerPoint that we actually will be going through today, hoping to finalize so that we can actually use it and get the word out. We had May here because we're going through it, right? And hopefully have it finalized by May.
May I just comment one section? When we get to that particular item on our agenda, and this is the one that could take some time, I had a chance to go through it, and I went through each of the 3 presentations with comments page by page if appropriate. So we'll be prepared to deal with that. So I would say from a committee standpoint, we are on task for those PowerPoints.
Awesome. Task 2, identifying basically external boards. You guys kind of did this at the full body meeting, right? This is on your guys' subcommittee to kind of own that, but identifying external boards that CAB would like to participate in that's that impacts this population. So that was identified at the full body meeting. So congratulations. So that is we've now, and then task 3 is basically tied to that, where we're actually assigning people and appointing people to those external boards that were identified. And so that happened as well. But as far as the work is concerned, it's January to December because it's, they've been appointed, but now they need to go to those meetings, come back and report out to the full body. So that's why we have assigned committee members on that. And then task 4, well, let's hold off. How do people feel about the task 2 and 3? Do you feel that what happened at the general meeting is what this is? Or am I missing something here?
Mark, any comments from your vantage point, Mark?
Not right now.
Thank you. McKenya?
Was I muted?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have a comment on that at this.
Okay. So for both of you, you're comfortable, we're moving forward, and we've laid out our plan and we are initiating our plan, if I am correct.
One thing you might want to think about is, I know you have May here because this happened in May. And maybe it's too soon to talk about next year, but maybe talking about when should that happen? Should that be happening in May? Should that be happening more closer to right after the retreat? I know it's hard because you guys have your retreat in February and you don't meet until hopefully February is the first meeting that you guys have. So it's just, I've seen it happen in January. So that's why I'm just kind of throwing that out there.
May I throw you, I'm not sure if this is appropriate or not, but I just had a thought when I looked at our work plan and you look at how we got started this year. Would it be heresy to say we should have the retreat in January rather than February? And then we really kick this thing off and we make these dates more appropriate. And again, food for thought. I'm just thinking out loud on that one, and hopefully
I'm
too
not
many
sure
of
of
you-
the background of why it was always February. Maybe someone that's been with CAB longer, Jill, can maybe provide some context. Jill has her hand up. Go ahead, Jill.
Yeah, so I think that it's changed around, but I think the idea was to have those new members seated as of January to allow them to be part of the planning process. But, that always can be revisited if you want to make a recommendation to make it in January. It certainly isn't a bad idea to kick off the new year with the new members with the training right away instead of losing a couple months. Since it's sort of a framework that's established already, and you seem to sort of just do the same framework year after year, which is the idea of training and bringing people up to speed and all of that. So it's up to you all, but I think that was the idea that was brought up in the past.
If I'm correct, Jill, does that recommendation come from this committee? Because I think
The full
if we-
cab. It was a discussion at the full cab.
Okay, all right then. But I thought the retreat was under the purview of this committee. Or is
It might
that-
be for the planning details. I don't know what's happened there. Nicole, you might have better understanding of that.
Okay.
It might be for the purposes of planning the details, but not the actual date. But certainly if this group feels like January is a better time, take that to the full cab to decide.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the charter on the operating guidelines. And I had actually some call outs about that things that are your guys' charter, your mission, or charge for the subcommittee that's not necessarily on here.
Okay,
And then I had to check in regards to the retreat. I'd have to check on that.
All right, so we can look at that, fine. And if we look at it and we can look at the pros and cons, I was just concerned of losing time. Because when you look at the way our year started, we start in January, we kind of look at each other. Then you have the retreat in February, then it's like, oh yeah, okay. You're looking at each other again, then you don't really get to work till March. So you literally lost 2 months of.
We really tried to have the subcommittee in February, which were successful in. So I don't know if that would change. Even if you had it in January, you would meet for the first time, unless you decide to meet your first subcommittee in January. That would just be something to think about. I see Nick Kenyon's hands up.
Yeah, so I think February is a better time than January, because I think we were kind of coming off of the holidays and trying to get settled back in. So I thought, like, when I'm thinking about it, like having a retreat just like right then and there would probably be a bit much. The retreat is definitely a little intense on the time. So I understand why they had it a specific time every year so that we can plan accordingly. I think if we did it in January, it will probably run into other people's availability. I think February is a lot more diverse as far as time would be for all different types of families.
Well, good point. You make a good point, Nikenya. Thank you.
Well, Crawford, I think that some of the discussion, and I think that the goal was to have this discussion at the retreat for task 2, identifying, external boards and commissions and meetings that were pertinent to CAB to be participating in, was a discussion that we wanted to have at the retreat, and we just ran out of time.
Yes.
But I think it's an important one, because that's where the full body weighs in, and where should CAB be? And maybe it's just a point here that we make sure that happens at the next retreat, and we build that time in to have that conversation.
Correct. Well, again, as I said, I may be out ahead of my skis on this particular item, and I understand that, but I was just concerned about getting things squared away so that we have time to breathe during the year as we flow into to some other important issues that we may have to address, and to lay the stage for early ambassador meetings. And if we do them early, we leave time for Murphy's Law. And that was the vantage point, or that was where I was coming from. But hey, no problem. We can move on.
I see Nikenya's hands up.
Sorry, I guess I didn't put it down.
Oh, no worries. And so that's task 2 and 3. And then for task 4, Crawford, it kind of goes similar to, you talking about wanting to kind of get ahead of things. I see that talking points is I saw that it was on the charter for outreach, that they were on the responsible for basically, that was a deliverable that is on this subcommittee's task to do, and make sure that they get input from all the other members of the full body.
Yes.
And I don't really see that it's kind of part of task 4, right? Because you got to have those talking points to be able to do I'm sorry, my daughter is scratching the wall here, making noise. You can't send them out to do their ambassador program without the talking points, right? It kind of goes they go together. So
Yes.
So I just wanted to call that out for task 4, that we might want to put that in here. That it's a dependency, and that this group would be making sure that it's either agendized at each subcommittee at a certain time. And we can talk about that timing on that too.
Nicole, maybe we should revise task 4 to include your comments. I'll throw that out to the group, that we revise that, because we should be taking, if I'm correct, the lead to make sure that there's input from everybody on the talking points.
Right.
I'm not so sure we did that last year.
I think it was somewhat of a scramble from what I recall.
Well, that's no kidding.
And so I had actually had a suggestion for next month that we guys review last year's talking points just for this group to get started in looking at them. And then that would be my recommendation, but I can revise this to include that as a deliverable.
Yes. And could you put for next steps to review, let's get an early start on those talking points. Maybe we can agendize that for our formal meeting in May to at least start the process.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All up there. In January to June. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. Because June, so if you guys, I'm just looking at the timeline here. If you guys kind of finalize the talking points by June, bring them to July or August full body meeting to get approved, the assignments and the talking points, then folks can go out, August, September, start scheduling those meetings.
You know what we could almost do at our next meeting? We could start a draft on ambassador assignments. Because it's just a draft, but then we know it's going to change, but it's almost like if we get it laid out now and we start tweaking it when the time comes to initiate, then I mean we're right on task. That would be my suggestion. I mean, we have nothing to lose by starting it right now, and then we start moving it around. It's
right. So one of the dependencies on the ambassadors that we sent out a survey to get everyone's first and second choice is how we were handling that.
mm-hmm.
And with our 3 new members not onboarding until May, we may not be quite ready to do. We can't really draft the assignments unless we know what people's first and second choices, right?
All right. So then
what I
maybe
might do is that we do the survey or look at the survey, or at least kind of get you guys to sign off that we can send out the survey, after the May meeting.
Well, let me ask you this question. Is there anything prohibiting us from sending out that survey now?
Well, we have members that are not with CAB. I can include them to respond, just knowing that obviously their appointments are tentative, right? Until they're approved on the 29th.
Okay, but couldn't we address that by saying if you are approved by CCP, what would be your preference? Those 3 we could address. A different email to those 3.
We could do that. I mean, we have a couple that are, or at least one that has not been participating, unfortunately, CAB member that we won't be able to probably assign unless we get
understand.
But yes, there's nothing really preventing, to your point, there's nothing preventing getting that survey out now.
Okay.
I just don't know if some of the newer members will we'll just preface what this is so that they know what they're signing up for. So.
Okay, good.
Maybe make an announcement at the May 12th meeting that is coming out at the general meeting. Or you want to get it out before then?
Why don't we get it out, and then if they have questions, then you see what we're doing is we've got a long runway here.
Right.
Let's have the long runway. What is it? I'm trying to think. If you have a passenger, jet, you have the long runway, I guess.
Yep.
So why don't
we happy to get that out?
Good. Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right.
Anything else before we go to the next item? Is there anything else here on our work plan?
I see Dale's hands up.
Yes, Dale.
I was wondering, for anyone that you're going to send that to who has never been involved in the ambassador interviews, if maybe you could include one or two past ambassador reports so they can just see what those look like. I remember.
Yeah, we will have that kind of instructions and examples and stuff for them to,
Oh, great. Yeah,
before they go out, because this is just getting their assignments. Once they're actually ready to, we have the assignments approved, ORJ will assist in providing instructions so that everyone knows how to go out and feel comfortable having these meetings.
great.
Okay, are there any other questions? I notice we have some other individuals that have joined our group as participants. Please feel free to raise your hand, or if you don't know how to do that, I don't know how to do it, just speak up and by George, we'll recognize you. So I notice we have Elisa. If there are any comments, please chime in. We'd love to hear from you or anybody else that's on the line. Okay, any other questions on the work plan? Are we ready to move forward from the work plan?
Did you guys want to vote, or just consensus is that we're good?
Now, Kenya, what would you like to do? Vote or keep moving on the work plan?
I think we're good. I mean,
Okay, Mark?
I think we're good. We can move on.
Okay, then let's move on. All right, the next item, and this is kind of the, what is it? This is our challenge, is to identify recruitment outreach contacts with the focus on West County. So let's begin the discussion. You want to start, Mark? Do you have any comments to begin with on West County? I have some, but I'll wait until you and McKinnon have had a chance to respond.
I don't have any direct comments on West County. I was just wondering if there's any work that's already been done, like any lists before that had been formulated on the contacts in West County or in the whole county at all, about the CBOs and the different boards that we might reach out to. Has anybody did work on that before? I don't know if Nicole knows of anything.
Well, we did extensive reach out last year
Mhm.
to specifically the Board of Supervisor that is responsible for West County. We also, took kind of charge of the narrative as far as getting the word out and created our own newsletter and forwarded out to our entire contacts. That includes our West County contacts and CBOs and others in the county. I don't know if the hope is that they had forward that information on, since we were able to drive. They don't have to create that in their own newsletter. They could just forward our own, but we did get one applicant that was West County. So that is great. I'm hoping that this individual is still very interested, and we'll be following up offline. But yeah, Crawford, do you have anything to add there?
Why don't I chime in to Kenya? Anything from your vantage point? Because I listed some items here.
no, I think last year, different ideas about recruitment that could have probably, given us a little bit more of a pool of people that, otherwise wouldn't hear about it. But I don't really have any new ideas for West County.
Well, let me piggyback from your ideas last year, McKenya. And I think one of them happened to be the faith-based organizations. And I read something that Dale sent out. And I think, number one, we should focus on faith-based organizations. We've also got a personal contact. Thank you, Nicole, from, her name was Sonia Bustamante at Joya's office. She's going to do some extra work for us. In addition to that, we were able to call her for assistance at Contra Costa College, which is in West County, to see if we can get to that junior college. So we've done that already. And the thing we haven't done, and I don't quite know how, but by George, it's kind of out of the box. What about some of the barber shops over in West County? And you just never know, because if we do faith-based, that may be an opportunity, but the doggone barber shops, maybe if we could find 2 or 3 in West County and just, get to either the owners or somebody at the particular barber shop and say, hey, sir, this is what we're looking for. Maybe there's somebody that comes through your doors that may have interest. You just never know. So those were the items that I had that maybe we could pursue further as we lay out our agenda for West County. And naturally, if we're going to be at CCP, we'll try to give a call out for West County, and PPC, when they have their meeting, we can give a call out for West County. So
Yeah, we are staffed to our job, and I've mentioned it there as well. I see that Jill does have her hand up.
go ahead, please, Jill.
I was just going to note at Contra Costa College, there is a special office that works with the reentry population. I don't know if you're connected with that group.
The person we've tried to reach, I think his last name is Sanford, and he's the head of the Administration of Justice program. Now that may be different.
Yeah, that's different. So they have a special office that works with the reentry population at Contra Costa College, and I will track that person down. It's been going on for a long time.
If you could send that contact information, I can contact them directly.
Yeah, and then the other one is, does anybody know if it's been posted at the Reentry Success Center in Richmond?
I don't know if it was been posted, but they definitely are part of the contacts that we've reached out to send out the recruitment announcement, but not directly to them. So I can forward that information to them and see if they can get it into their community. I don't know what communications they have beyond. I don't know if they have a newsletter that they send out or not.
I just wonder if they have like a bulletin board there or something. You know, maybe Rubicon knows, or maybe get it to Rubicon.
We did send a flyer, Crawford. You sent a flyer because they had that clean slate event that they were partnering with the Public Defender's Office on the 8th of April.
Yes.
We provided the flyer and they were going to put the flyers out at their table. So they definitely they've been reached out in that regard. I don't know if they put those flyers and posted them up on their bulletin boards, but we can ask them to do that as well.
Okay, any other suggestions?
The other place is Rise in Richmond. You might want to reach out to Stephanie Medley at Rise and see if they have any poster board or anything there to post a flyer on.
Okay.
So I can reach out to you, Crawford, offline. I have Stephanie's contact.
All right, good. All right, any other comments here or suggestions? I hope, Dawn, I believe you're still with us. Any suggestions, Dawn, from your vantage point?
No, but we keep pushing everything in our newsletter, so I'm sure
Yes.
that John has it in his.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Dawn.
You know, I would specifically ask them to put it in their e-blast because I get his and I haven't seen it in theirs for a long time. I know we have it in ours. I know Supervisor Burgess is really good about including it in theirs. But I have not seen it in Supervisor Joya's. So I would specifically ask them to blast it out.
Robert,
Okay,
haven't you had those conversations with Sonia to do
yes,
that?
I have. And I spoke to Sonia maybe 2 weeks ago, and she did indicate that they would be putting that in the supervisor's blast. So I guess, Jill, you're saying you haven't seen it.
I have not.
Okay, well then I'll follow up with her. What's going on?
Do you know how frequently, I know each supervisor may be different, how frequent those blasts are? Are they monthly, bi-weekly, quarterly?
I don't know that they sent it out regularly. Dawn, do you have any idea? I know Supervisor Burgess and Supervisor Anderson send it out weekly at this point in time. And I just see Supervisor Joya sort of just announcing things, like he just sent one out announcing Earth Day.
Okay,
But that was the only thing in there.
Okay, I'll reach out to Sonia and pressure her a little bit. How's that? And then we'll move on. And by the way, I've been reading, I'm in Anderson's district, and she gives or sends a real detailed or a very detailed blast or email, etc. And I did notice, and Jill, you had mentioned it, that you have purposefully backed off of listing CAB because of our overrepresentation from Central County right now. And
I had, but it's in there again because you weren't getting any other applications.
Applicants, yes.
So we went ahead and put it back in there for this last week, and we'll do it again
Perfect.
this week, and then we'll pull it.
okay, good, because again, we still have those 3 vacancies and for the alternate side, and we've got a situation with 1 member. So the bottom line now is we need bodies. However, we will give special consideration to someone from West County if they apply.
well, and the hope with this more formal recruitment process, because we haven't really had like a set date for applications we do, was to maybe help folks push them along to apply. I have not seen the complete fruits of our efforts yet, but I'm hoping we would like to send a reminder out tomorrow to remind
Okay.
people to apply by next Thursday.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Are there any other potential comments here about West County focus? I've got CBOs, we've got RISE, we've got Joya's eBlast. There's that reentry center at Contra Costa College. Anything else? I hope I wrote those down and didn't miss any, but those are what I had in addition to the things that we're currently doing.
Crawford, I can also reach out to the network and the resource center because I have regular meetings with Pat Mims and Stephanie as well. I can let them know and find out about the bulletin board.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, any other comments in this particular area for outreach for West County for recruitment?
Yeah, I actually, since you mentioned faith-based, do we know of any, sorry, there's a little guy in the background. Do we know of any faith-based groups that we could reach out to for possible recruitment in that area?
Well, see, that was the whole point of mine. We're going to have to find them. I don't know any. But by George, hey, we'll find them and we'll figure it out. And, to me, if we can just find 3 to 5, if they're 3 to 5 faith-based faith-based organization. Well, you know what we could do? I've got the contact at the mayor's office for Richmond. I can call that lady and see if she can help me out or help us out. How's that? And we can go, yes, Monique.
So we also at ORJ, we have connections with I believe it's the Interfaith.
Council?
It's a group collaborative.
Okay.
So we could also we can share with them as well.
Okay, well, Monique, if you could send that list, then maybe we can draft a special type email, or, however we communicate with them, and then send it to each of those independently, and maybe that's our starting point for faith-based. Okay, great. Okay. All right.
Mark, did you have something? I thought you had unmuted yourself. Just wanted to make sure Mark was.
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, the sooner that we can get that contact, I don't know if you want to wait to compile a contact list, Crawford, or have folks go out that have already identified. I just wanted for next week's due date for the applications to get the word out as much as possible so that we can try to.
Okay, could we do
get
that?
people
I
appointed by
have
June 3rd.
Yeah, I have some time this afternoon. If you'll send that faith-based thing to me this afternoon, I'll take a look at it and we can get started. I can work with you, Monique. How's that? So we'll rock and roll on that one. Okay. All right. Good. Again, anything else on faith-based organizations, or excuse me, on West County reaching out? And basically, I think we've got a plan here for who we can reach out to, what to do. So in essence, whatever cover letter we have for faith-based, we could have the same one for CBOs, the same one for, yeah. So hey, maybe this isn't nuclear science. It's just following up with the doggone list of people we have. And it's just a matter of let's quit talking and let's do a little walking, so to speak. Let's initiate then. So
I would just recommend get the online application link to them.
Yeah.
Get them right to the application without them having to navigate to it, try to figure it out. I think that will help get people to where they need to be.
Excellent then. Excellent. Okay. Are we ready to move to the next item then? Which is the overview of the PowerPoints. Okay, the first one here, this is what we call the full version. And this was all Michael. Well, I'll tell you, I think Michael did one heck of a job on this full version. So do we want to go through this basically slide by slide? Because we gave ourselves time, but how do you want to approach this? Because I have notes on slide by slide here. Why don't we get started then, since there's no comment? On slide 1, I thought it was good. Basically, slides 1 through 7, I mean, you can show them. Slides 1 through 7, to me, were good. We had narrative, we had bullets, and anybody could take this presentation and use it in any type of venue. If you've got about, I'd say 20 minutes, 25 minutes, because it's a little long. But it's detailed and it's good. And this, particularly this slide 3, it gives you the interconnections of CAB, CCP, PPC, and who does what, where, and when. I thought this was a particularly good slide. Slide 4. Again, I think the way these slides are broken out, we don't have too much information on an individual slide. and you can walk your audience through this. We have the narrative that goes with it. So this should be pretty easy for anybody giving it. Slide 5, same thing.
Can I just ask a question? Because I was curious about this on slide 3 underneath
Yeah.
it, bullet point or item number 3. It
Yes,
shows a limited handful of members of that CCP, and I think it seems like it's might be missing membership for our county.
oh, okay,
Because the CCP board is bigger than those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people. Because we have a representative from Employment and Human Services, plus we have a representative from AOD. We've also traditionally had a representative from our domestic violence, our Stand Together. We also have a CAO representative. So I'm curious about where that list came from.
I think these are just examples because these are presenter notes instead of them going through the entire
yes,
list of everyone that's on the CCP. It was meant to be an example.
Oh, okay, then
It might
maybe
need to
that,
be changed here so that it's just as for an example.
yeah, maybe some of the representatives are kind of, or some are, whatever, but yeah, it doesn't state that clearly.
okay, so we can clear that up then.
Gonna highlight, the highlighter is not very highlighted. Can barely see it, but we'll make that change.
I can actually see it really well.
Oh, you can? I think it's the way my lap
Perfect,
tilted.
okay. Good catch. Slide 4, 5, okay, just a minute, let's slow.
I have a comment. Could you go back to that previous slide? I believe, no. It said is lead, L-E-A-D. I believe the word should be L-E-D.
Yes,
That's a metal there.
okay, you get a star. Oh, got it.
Thank you, Dale. It's funny with spell check within PowerPoint is not as powerful as it is in Word. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
It is a real word, so spell check probably wouldn't catch it.
Yeah, it does that to me sometimes. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, where are we on?
I think we're at 5.
Well, actually, if you could go back to 4, sorry.
Okay, 4? No, let's take our time.
So in this, the purpose and function, nowhere do I see the word reentry. And I think that's a significant part of what you all do is to address that reentry population. It's not clearly to reinvest its criminal to support community/corrections programs and evidence-based practices. But nowhere in here does it say that really what you guys are focusing on is that reentry portion of programming.
Yeah, that's.
I had to look at the purpose and functions. I don't know if this was just copied and pasted from that document, and maybe it's not in there either, which I'd be surprised. We would have to take a look. But I hear what you're saying.
All right,
Because it's really both in and out of custody, right?
Okay.
okay. Which one are we on next? 5, just a minute here, let's slow up here. This is what? Provide policy and budget advocacy, and then serve as a spotlight. Okay, that's,
The other thing that I note in here is you all have done a bunch with, you mentioned budget in here, advance to foster best practices and innovations and sort of, it doesn't really what, and I don't know how to word it, but you all have done a lot of work with kind of reviewing budgets and how it's spent, right?
I think if you go to the narrative portion of that. Or did you want it on the slide? Is it in there? I saw that somewhere. Maybe it wasn't on.
There's
this.
a question, examine, challenge the budget, just both proposed and spent, as spent, reported, is just part of the notes for the presenter
Okay,
under watchdog.
but that's not under policy and budget. What was your wording? I mean, what phrase can you drop it down just a little bit, please? Jill, what was your wording on that? Was it the transparency or?
Well, I mean, I just kind of, I'm always all about the language that's being presented to the public. So protect, safeguard AB 109 revenues. You really don't have that function, but you do make recommendations, right? And ensure accountability maybe, or address, something along those lines. We're really working on kind of budget transparency, I guess, is really.
Okay, so we can add that in there, and now that would be under policy and budget for the budget transparency.
It could be wherever you all decide. I mean,
Okay,
this is what you all, I mean, that's sort of where the pivot that you all have gone, because you've worked really hard on the other parts.
Yes.
And that's sort of the current.
But I liked your wording under watchdog. Yeah, we don't, okay, we said protect and safeguard. You said that may not be the terminology we want to use.
You don't have the authority for that. So that's the thing. You don't want to make a promise that you're not able, give people an impression that you can do something you can't. I mean, you certainly can give feedback, right? You can work toward transparency.
Or maybe we advise on AB 109 revenues and investments. Maybe
You absolutely do. Yeah, make recommendations.
Okay, so so under watchdog, let's take out protect and safeguard and put advise.
Yeah, I like that because you're not the ultimate decision maker.
Oh,
You're not the enforcer.
yes, okay, and at the end, and encourage transparency. Or
Right.
something of that nature. Yeah, okay, well,
And on the first line, it says advanced policy. You recommend policy and budget,
okay,
budget, whatever, spending to foster best practices. Because you don't really have the ability to advance policy, you can recommend.
yeah, hey, that's right. Our whole body's about recommending. We don't, yeah, okay. And that would be the same for point number 2. We don't advance, we recommend ways to reduce the use of incarceration locally or.
And I just feel the need to say, how incredibly important that is, not to diminish the importance or significance. It's just you want to give people the accurate impression on what the authority is here.
Understand. Thank you.
I'm pulling up the real PowerPoint because it's just easier for me to make those changes in there
Okay,
as we're doing this.
all right.
All right.
Oh, perfect.
And as you move into slide 6, since I'm on a roll, I might as well just keep going. Protect community investments. I think what you do is you don't really protect community investments. You communicate, right? You communicate, which is the incredibly important part, the needs, interests, and desires and goals of the community.
Okay,
Amplify is a great word, but protect community investments. I'm not
okay,
sure.
okay. You're on a roll.
Another word that you could use is, well, you do have it there, advocate, but you could do like a section where it's basically advocacy work is what you're doing. So, and I actually was thinking about it under the watchdog section, but I mean, watchdog is a good word too.
Well, watchdog is not not a favorite word in the county, quite frankly. But you could definitely advocate for for increased in community investments. I mean, I think that's a true statement of what you all do.
Okay, so maybe where it has watchdog on the previous slide, maybe it could be advocacy or something instead of watchdog. I mean, it's totally up to you all, but I was thinking if watchdog is not a word that the county likes.
Why don't we get just spotlight or highlight? Remember, we had discussions with Michael about watchdog and we were going back and forth.
Yeah, advocate is a great replacement word because that's what you do. You're advocating based on all of the, gather, provide information and communication from the community. You're advocating for greater community investments. Is definitely falls within everything you all have been doing for years.
Okay, and then could we change the heading under the narrative from watchdog to spotlight or?
Yeah, and I'm on slide 6. You guys are on slide 4. I mean, slide 5.
Yeah.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
we have to clean up.
Going too fast for me. Hold on a second.
Okay. All right.
Because you're on a roll. So this one was supposed to be advises. This one's recommend.
No, it could, advice.
And we'll clean this up too. This, we'll go back through this again, Nicole, or I can,
Yeah.
or we all can.
So serve as a spotlight, recommends AB 109 revenues, reviews, something along AB 109 revenues and investments.
There we go. Okay. And we got to get rid of those words. What about advance?
Where are you?
Would we want to worry about the commentary so much and focus on the slides itself? I'm just getting a little lost on
I got you.
changes to both.
I think Monique and Nicole could work with you, Crawford, on the language that goes with the slide.
Okay, okay. I guess your issue is what are we going to present to the public? Let's get that. Let's nail that down.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Let's go to slide 6.
Okay. Was this, sorry, the slide 5, does this look right based on what the feedback was? Advises policy and budget reviews, AB 109 revenues. Does that look right? Did I lose? No.
I'm leaving it up to the committee to say. That's all the suggestions I offered.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to slide 6 then.
Okay.
And now, again, not the narrative, just the, okay, just the slide.
And I'm suggesting you say advocate for increased community investments.
Advocate, okay. There we go. Okay. All right. Slide 7. Anything that
Slide
gets your
6
attention
first.
here, Jill?
Yeah, that's just factual information. That's all good.
Yes. Okay.
Could you go back to slide 6 just for a moment?
Oh, okay.
I'm wondering if it says gather, provide information and communication. Are you gathering or, yeah, okay, you are providing communication. Sorry.
No, but Dale, let's stop a second. That's a mighty long-winded statement. Can we maybe pare that down a little bit? Maybe we get rid of either gather or provide.
Well, then the sentence wouldn't be complete.
Yeah.
What would you? Or you mean just use one or the other rather than both of them?
Correct.
If you gather and provide information, you're communicating, so it's kind of a double message there.
Yes,
Communication.
Why don't we say gather and provide, and there gather / provide. There we go.
Yeah, good point.
Thank you, Scott.
I wasn't asleep.
Yeah, and we had to wake you up, Scott. Oh, I love this.
They put
Okay.
that in
The
there
other- the other thing you-
purposefully for you, Scott.
I'm sorry. The other thing you might want to consider is replacing the word gather to receive, provide and receive information, because gather to me seems more like gathering people together, which.
Okay,
So maybe provide and receive information, because I think if you read the sentence below, it sort of says that basically same thing in expanding.
I always mess up. E before I.
And I also
Very-
think for the sentence below, it should start with help build stronger relationships with the community, to give like a content, like a context, rather than like, that's kind of the initiative.
okay. Shoot.
You might even want to add, help build stronger relationships with the community, comma, educate them on what's happening with AB 109, comma, receive input.
There we go. You could almost have 3 bullets under provide and receive information. But we can do that later if we want to. Anything else on slide 6?
I can't see hands up because I'm sharing my screen on my remote desktop. So if someone else sees hands, please.
I don't see any. Okay. Slide 7. We said that's just data. Slide 8.
Hold on. Slide 8.
My water bottle. Yes.
Hold on, Abby.
You're going to want to change that to 2022.
If we could really quickly, I don't want to be like Debbie Downer here, but can we go to the statistics before we pass that one up and try to explain a little bit of, the growth patterns? I do remember talking to Michael about this last year, but
Sorry, that was a slide that ORJ recommended including, just to kind of show this history of the funding that's been allocated for community programs. And so I don't have it, because I wasn't here until starting 2021. So this was just literally going off of the CCP packet in each December and seeing what was approved for community programs for each year, fiscal year.
okay.
And we weren't showing going all the way back to the very beginning. I think it was 2012. We were just wanting to show the last 5-6 years.
Okay,
But
so
if there's
this is,
input and feedback to show this in a different way, we're, definitely open.
no, I was just, so this is just, oh, yeah, it is the approved budget. Well,
This is just for CAB. This is not the entire AB 109 budget.
okay, got it. All right, now I
And then,
am,
and then the narrative or the commentary below speaks to that and talks about the different services that this funding is supporting.
okay, thank you.
And then the next 3 slides were recent work. We had a recent work slide that was very dated. And so this was taking in some of the work that was discussed at the retreat in February of the work that CAB has been doing, did last year and then is currently doing. And we didn't, Crawford and I didn't edit this too much, so some of this may not need to be on here.
Which slide are you on? Well, 8
Number
here?
8, number 8.
Yes, well, you know, we can go back one more time and pare it down, particularly bullet point number 2. And maybe this is my pet peeve. When you have a slide, we don't want the person spending so much time reading what you've got on the screen. They're not listening to you, and we don't want to turn around and repeat what's on the screen for bullets. At least in my past life, that was, you know, the way we approached, you know, PowerPoint slide presentations or what have you.
Yeah, that is the purpose of it.
So
PowerPoint.
like bullet number 2 here, we can cut that down and then in the narrative talk about what's in the bullet here.
When I think of the question is how you want to represent recent work, like you have a retreat every year. I mean, even the first bullet, do you need to have that in here that you convened the retreat in 2022? It's more of getting down to what type of accomplishments are we wanting to capture here?
Ah,
But that's where I would be looking for some feedback. Because this was ORJ's attempt at the retreat to put that kind of together, where we were sharing lessons learned that each subcommittee had provided ORJ in their final report. And this is literally just copied and pasted right from that.
why don't we get rid of the first bullet? And then we'll turn the remaining bullet into 2 bullets. How's that?
You tell me.
No, I'm just saying, hey, I'm just throwing it out. Mark, Kenya, Jill, anybody help?
So I guess to help get through this, again, the question is, do we want to share that you guys had convened a retreat in 2002 as one of your recent work, or have this more focused on policies that were put in place or additional funding that were secured or those kind of things?
Personally, I'd eliminate the retreat. It's like, yeah, we did it. We do it every year. That's just me now. I can be dead wrong.
I agree. The whole point of a PowerPoint is to condense your information and, you know, elaborate on it when you're giving the presentation. I think the issue here was to make sure that everybody reading it had all the information within it. So is with that in mind, should it be a little bit longer for that?
Sorry, what was the question?
No, I was just walking through a thought. So like ideally, we want a PowerPoint to be more condensed and just kind of have enough information in it so that the person can elaborate on it for the extra ones. Wondering if the extra information was in there just to like remind the person doing it of the.
Yeah, these next few slides are new. So this was not part of the original. There was just one slide for recent work and it was all outdated information. So again, it's looking at these next few slides to see, is any of this recent work something that you guys want to capture? If it is, then we can pare it down to, you know, a few words for each bullet.
I think when we were talking about this particular aspect last year, if you can help me understand, I was like really confused why all of CAB wasn't a part of the discussion. Understand that we're supposed to be outreaching, but when it comes to CAB and its recent work, and I always felt like everybody on the official CAB should actually be a part of this rather than just like the subcommittee. I still don't get it, but
Well, this is stuff that's already been shared with the full body. It was part of the full retreat and was presented to the full body and new members. So this is real stuff. It's just a matter if you getting your guys' input of how you want to pare it down or keep it all. And I do think my recommendation would be to, once you guys get this into a place where we feel comfortable with it, to share it with the full body.
Well, not just like, they don't have any input. I always felt like we were kind of putting everything together for the entire network, rather than just like, this isn't to me a complete subcommittee for outreach, like body of work. Because it's CAB, it's not like specifically CAB subcommittee, recently. So
Well, and again,
I just thought it was
would be
more
to-
appropriate to bring in, like, for other people to weigh in.
Well, the only way you can do that in Kenya is put it to the full body, because the subcommittees, you run into quorum issues having too many people come here. So
No, I'm just saying, like, for this particular part, why isn't it a topic at the full body? And then we all.
Kenya,
Mhm.
you know what we can do? Maybe our role is, let's put something together like we're doing now. We go pluses, minuses, we nitpick it, we do whatever we have to do. Then we take this document to the full board.
Yeah, but we would have already made decisions for them, right?
No. This is our draft document. Does the board want to add or delete something? We go to them as our next step. How's that? And then
I get it. I'm just not seeing how it fits 100% in the subcommittee. But I hear what you're saying, and it sounds like that's just how it has to be done. I just didn't want to take away the opportunity from other members to add and subtract and, maybe even express, because there's a lot of people in the actual meeting who's been here for years, and they have a lot to offer as far as this type of stuff. I think that was where I was coming from, being able to have a complete body of information rather than just what we have, as either newer members or potential members, or, people who really haven't been here that long. I felt like it was just a lot for them. Whereas other people who've been here a lot longer with a wealth of information would be able to decipher it a little bit better and add and subtract. And that was just the thing, like having it be a whole meeting rather than just like us making it up and then sending it to people who have been here for years.
May I just make a comment here? We at this committee went through this whole process last year. And I thought we had a document that we all agreed on. Now I'm getting confused.
No, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with the document. What I am stating is the inputs. So again, it's just like our small group is inputting on a full body of work, with aside from people who've been here a long time who are able to even add more than we are to it. So we're adding and subtracting, and then we're going to bring this to them about all of our work. That was just the part that never really made any sense to me. But
I see Dale's hands up.
Yeah, I like what you're commenting on, Kenya, and maybe Crawford, it could be an agenda item for one of the full CAB meetings. It would take time going through it. So it might only be the only thing that is done at that CAB meeting. I don't know, but I like what you're saying, Kenya. I think that is important.
Yeah.
Well, I think these slides are probably the one area that has not been captured very well, just in any kind of type of document, is recent work. There isn't one place. You'd have to kind of dig to kind of pull it all together. And this is kind of our attempt to kind of tackle that. And so it's, as you can see, we're spending a lot of time on these slides because it's, we have to kind of be thoughtful about it. Jill, I
Yeah.
see your hand up.
I was just going to say, in the past, these have always gone back to CAB for their final approval, that this is a recommending body to the full
Yeah.
CAB. So they would have the opportunity to have this in the packet, review it, and come back with comments before approving the full slate of slides.
Yeah, I understand that. I just didn't understand why they had no input in putting it together. That was the issue, because a lot of those members, as you know, Jill, have been here for a long time, over a lot of us.
Right. So I think they originally did, Nakenya. I think that this did come from them originally, and then it's been put down to the subcommittee to update over time, and then it goes back to them for final approval. So I think that their feedback has been pulled into this from the start, and then now it's just updating it to this year's, sort of this year's ideas or information.
Okay, well, that history is good to know.
Thank you, Nakenya. Good points, good points. So we move forward where we will have a draft version of this. We will then take it to the full board, and they can add, delete, revise, whatever they want to do. And then we should really come up with a real decent document. How's that, Nakenya? And that's input from everyone.
Yes, I'm fine with.
Okay, great.
Yeah, if maybe we were asked to review this prior to the meeting, that might help to speed the process up.
Correct. Slide 9.
So are we keeping this whole paragraph here about recruitment, focusing on keeping it an equitable, well, I don't know if it says equitable, equal distribution, balance?
Maybe because we've only got a half hour left, why don't we leave that? You and I can work on that, or anybody else that well, we can't do that. You and I can work on it and then
Yeah,
bring it back. How's that?
yeah. Okay, budget transparency and reporting. Let's see here. This is really getting to, and I know it's very wordy, but the point of this 2 bullets is about the fact that CAB has presented recommendations, and that historically, well, not historically, but that they were agendized at the CCP to be discussed and considered. And that's not necessarily worded and articulated very well in this paragraph, but that's what this is and how important that is, because that had not historically happened in the past. And
Both of these bullet points have been implemented.
yes. In the past, or are you saying?
They're implemented now. So
Yeah.
because of the work of CAB in the past, these are now implemented. This goes beyond just a recommendation and agendizing. It's actually happened.
Right.
This is finished, kind of thing.
So Crawford, you might just need to kind of make that clear here, because I think it's kind of lost.
Or maybe well, see, to me, yeah, I just wrote down here for slide 9 on my notes, we've got to break that down, because a lot of the verbiage can go under the narrative portion.
Yeah.
And might we also say AB 109 budget transparency and reporting? And maybe we want to put in parentheses success or initiated or something of that nature to piggyback onto Jill's comment.
Accomplishments.
There you go, 409 budget transparency and reporting. Let's just add the word there we go. And then we'll break the slide down further. Well, you guys are giving me homework here tonight. Jesus.
And then this is the success of the funding for community programs, specifically the increase in 3% increase in COLA for each 3 year of the contract, each year, the 3 years of the contract. And also, I think it was the first bullet speaking to the fact that we avoided budget cuts for the community programs, and that other county agencies had absorbed to be able to allow no budget cuts for community programs.
And I've got to break this slide down. I've got a note here on slide 10 that either we break it down or it's just too wordy to be putting up on a screen. That's all. Okay.
And these are our policy recommendations that have advanced. These are basically some of the recent recommendations.
Yeah,
I don't know if that first bullet needs to be there, but we received presentations from CBOs last year during budget time. I don't know if that needs to be there, but I guess the point is that listening to the community is going back to the purposes and functions area that we were taking into consideration, community's input.
See, my note, fine, my note is too much on one slide. Is if we want all of this meat, then we're going to have to break it into 2 slides. That's just way too much on one slide. And that was the note I made here. I don't know about the rest of you.
Yeah, I think it's just really, I already know it's all too much on one slide. It's just a matter of the content that's there, if it's important to be said or not.
Okay.
Well, when this is actually shown as a PowerPoint, when you get to number 11, are all of these listed? Or do you have it set up so that you can bring each one in under the other and then look at them separately?
I'm not a big fan of the animation for a couple of reasons, because depending on where you're presenting this, you may not have control over that.
Oh,
So I feel like if it comes in, whatever it is, flat is how we should present it. But if we're having control, we can have 2 versions where we do animate. I just, sometimes it's just a PDF where you have to have all the information there anyways. So
yeah.
I've run into those challenges using animation to bring
Yeah.
content in.
Well,
But I hear what you're saying, Dale, that is a way to kind of break it up.
Yeah, well, when I taught in college, of course, I had control over it. So that made it easy because then people weren't looking at other items. They were focusing on what I was bringing in.
Right.
Mhm.
We can condense some of these bullets because the first one, you're right, could be taken out. We could condense some of the sentences in the other ones. Like, let me see, I had just saw something.
So this is kind of like, I kind of look at this as our advocacy, with the exception of bullet number 1. We're advocating for restorative justice, expanding that. We're advocating for expansion of ORJ. We're advocating for, well, we have our ambassador program. So I don't know, just at a glance, a lot of the scenes.
Well, yeah, like instead of saying, because we know it's CAP continue to, but maybe for the bullet, just say, going down the list, for example, support the expansion of stability of the Office of Reentry Justice, Reentry and Justice without CAP continue to, like for each one, just maybe remove that and just kind of bullet like what's done. I mean, that would shorten it, but also keep the part of the information that needs to stay there.
If you want to say something about the ambassador program, you might want to just, because they're not going to know what that is. We do. What the purpose of, I guess, the ambassador program is that we're continuing and why it's important would just be my 2 cents there.
Well, but this is under, let me see, recent work, right?
It's recent work, but we've been doing it every year for a while. So it's not new. What would be new is what came out of the ambassador summary from last year. Like what were points, that highlights that came out of those meetings would be, I guess, to me, something maybe to highlight. But again, looking at the audience of who's going to see this, they're not going to know anything about what this ambassador program is. So it's either communicating what it is and why it's it's important work that we continue, or in addition, providing some highlights of what happened last year, what came out of the ambassador meetings last year. I think that'd be a lot to kind of pull in for that one area there.
Or maybe instead of saying CAB continued, maybe CAB ambassadors program provides direct contact with department heads and county leadership. And then I don't know if we need to inform them of CAB's recommendations. I don't know if that part was necessary because we have our, I guess, the mission statement that says what it is that we're doing. So I was just, like, it could be shortened.
You know what, Kenya, maybe our task is, we've got to break slide, to follow up on what you're saying, we've got to break it down and condense what we've got here, and we can move some of the narrative, some of the bullets we can use as narrative. And then that way it'll be a lot cleaner.
Yeah. And
it will also explain like what Nicole is, wants to make sure we get done. Like,
yes,
CAB's ambassador program is to provide direct,
okay.
And then maybe we could remove some of the other wording because then it'll be more self-explanatory rather than explaining it in the bullet.
Correct.
so that's all the recent work. And obviously there's some work to get that recent work presented in a way that is absorbable by those that are going to see this.
Okay.
And then these are just the last few slides to how they can connect. When our meetings are, what time. Right now they're being held by Zoom and open to the public. Here's where they can get more information, the website. So a few bullets on what the commitment is, and who we're looking to, which is anyone interested in public safety, reentry, or justice system issues is encouraged to apply. Commentary speaks to the current vacancies at the time. Obviously that would need to change as that changes. And then the contact information for the officers and then the subcommittee chairs. I don't have the subcommittee chairs information here, Crawford. I don't know if it was intended to have no email there, but just historically, I've only seen contact information for the officers, not the subcommittee chairs.
I guess I would prefer to recognize the committee chairs myself. Whoever our chairs are, hey, they're part of the whole team here. It's not just Nicole, Lila, myself. It's also Terrence and Nicole and whoever the new chair will be of outreach and community engagement. So, personally, I would like to recognize them because it's a team effort and leave it that way. But hey, whatever.
Well, and I don't know if folks are maybe not be comfortable with their number on here. I don't know, but.
Well, we'll ask them.
Mhm.
How's that? Hey, you never asked me if I was comfortable
That's
with my
true.
number on there. Come on. Hey, I've got
Well,
one.
It's posted publicly now, so.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I've got a final slide to add
Okay.
from the short version. I wanted to add slide 15. Can you go to the short version now? Now this is the short, this
This
slide
one?
here.
Thank you side.
Yes,
Okay.
that was, to wrap it up. Now, this is all the time we spent. Now we got 15 minutes.
Right. Well,
Can
then here's
we-
the one slider.
Well, no, go through. Yeah, well, the one slider. Let's go. Do we have a chance to go through the short version quickly and just get some comments? And
Yeah, three standing committees,
yeah,
purposes and functions with some commentary, which obviously this might need to change based on comments from the full version.
yes,
And again, just broken up since there's a lot there. Annual deliverables. Community programs, outreach to the community, policy and budget recommendations.
and what is?
I don't know if that community program, just looking at this now, if that's clear. I mean, I understand that we provide, recommendation to the budget for community programs, but I don't know if this is misleading that
Yeah,
CAB is the one providing the deliverable of the community program itself. I don't know. That's just a call out.
we should change that. It's really,
Because it's
We have
policy and
our-
budget recommendations is for the community program. So yeah, we can look at that.
okay,
And then how to reach us, similar to the other slides. And then a conclusion, you have a conclusion slide, who we are, what we do, when we meet, and then thank you slide.
yeah. Now that's just the shortened version, and even the shortened version takes 12 minutes.
I did have some questions about the CBO information below, because COPE is not a funded AB 109 community
Oh.
program.
Yeah, take that out. Those were just notes to myself in case somebody said, well, give me examples of CBO.
Well, I mean, it could through a different, I guess, agency, but not with ORJ, it's not. So I'm not
Okay.
familiar. I know who they are, but
Take it out. Perfect.
You could put Rubicon in, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rubicon. Perfect.
no, they're all regions. They're not specific to
Yeah.
location.
And then you've got Health Right 360.
Okay, so these are the slides or the PowerPoints we have to deal with. So I guess we start with, let's get the first full version right before we drop information into the what is it, the reduced version or the short version and the one slide version.
Yeah. The one
Oh,
slide has come up because, we've had people say like, hey, we want to give you some time and space to talk about CAB. You have one slide.
Yeah,
This is our condensed
correct.
to get the word out. So
Yes.
that's what that is.
Okay. So we've got three options. Well, our goal was to have three options for any member of CAB who wanted or was asked to make a presentation. So if Scott went to a group that wanted to sit back and have a what is it, a long discussion, we use the full version. If Mark wanted to go to a group, well, hey, I can only give you about 10 minutes, then we have the shortened version. And then if McKenya went to a group, well, hey, just tell us briefly what you do. We've got the one slider, so to speak. So again, the goal here was flexibility. So we still have work to do, as we can see here.
Would we want to be bringing this back with edits next time?
Yes,
Okay. I'm just looking at, well, I know we're not at the next steps yet, but I will recap that when we get there. But we did have one other agenda item, which with a follow-up to, if there was going to be a follow-up to the external boards that were appointed. We appointed CAB members at last Thursday,
Yes.
but I don't think there is a follow-up unless folks have comments there.
Any questions, Mark? On that item? You know, we've kind of put it to bed, but maybe we haven't. Mark, any comments from you?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay, Nakenya?
No, not on that one. Just quickly for the topic before, are we gonna be able to kind of look at this outside of here? Like, is this what we have so far gonna be emailed to all of us so that we could maybe?
What's in the agenda packet right now, how we presented it, as far as the edits are concerned. Yeah, I mean, Crawford would have to work with offline to make some of those edits before we can get that out.
Why don't we do-
No, I mean, like for the suggestion of the edits.
Yeah, well, what we'll do is, why don't we do this? I'll get with Nicole and make edit 1. Once edit 1 is done, then we send it, then, no, not we, then Nicole sends it to, so we adhere to the Brown Act. Nicole sends it to you, Nakenya, and to Mark to make further edits.
I'll just pause you right there.
Can't
So
do
then
that.
you're getting into a daisy chain. So probably the
Yeah.
best way to go about this is everybody just submit their comments to Nicole. So
Okay,
Nakenya, if you have edits, comments, I would just send them to Nicole and she can put them into the document.
okay, that's even better.
Got it.
This is being recorded, so I will post the video shortly after the meetings if you wanted to review back on some stuff, but yeah, we'll be taking the feedback that we received today and then any additional feedback that people have.
I want to just add a quick comment. I really like this short version. It feels like it's a little cleaner, and it's, I mean, obviously I know it still needs to be developed, but I just like the look compared to the full version. Just my input.
And I was just going to say really quickly about the external boards. I think one thing that did come up at the full body meeting was, Ozzy has opted in to be the kind of the CAB representative to join and participate with the data subcommittee at the racial justice oversight body. But I think one follow-up that we had was, is anyone joining the full body and reporting back on, items that would be pertinent to CAB. And so I'm happy to reach out to Ozzy to see if she intended to join the full body or if it was just the data subcommittee. It's the only follow-up that I had for that.
Okay,
And our JOB meets quarterly, the full body.
That quarterly meeting's coming up soon. Here on May 5th. So I will get confirmation from her. And Nakenya, I know that you had shared interest in that particular body. Would we can follow up offline to see. I'll find out from Ozzy first if she's intending to go, and then I'll follow up with you to see if she's not, if you would like to go to the full body.
Okay.
all right then.
Do you want me to recap on next steps, what I have bringing back?
Would you please?
Yeah, so I have the diversity survey. Actually, no, you guys decided that you wanted me to go ahead and send that out, sorry. Let's see here. We're going to bring back the ambassador assignments. We're going to, sorry, I had this written down and now it's not here. I'm going to send out the survey, the diversity survey, before the next meeting. We want to review the talking points in the next meeting.
Yes.
And so hopefully the diversity survey results will be, we can look at them in the next meeting. If we get them back in time. And then we wanted to have preliminary assignments. Well, I guess get the survey out for the first and second choice for ambassador assignments and look at that at the next meeting. And then the PowerPoint as well. With edits.
Yes.
Did I capture that? And then, of course, that's specific to the May 17th regularly scheduled meeting, but May 3rd will be just the interviews for
Correct.
those applicants that applied. Does that sound right?
Sounds good to me.
We have our agenda planning meeting on Monday as well, so we can follow up on those items as well.
One question, Scott, I thought I saw your hand up.
Yeah, you did. I was just looking for the little chat thing where I was going to put my hand up. I just wanted to make sure I understand what's occurring on the 29th. And so I've been encouraged to attend, right? And is that where the CCP has an opportunity to interview us in open session, or?
Yes, so the April 1st meeting was rescheduled to the 29th of April. So, and I know you guys had RSVP'd on that, and I would, if I hadn't already, I was planning on reaching out to get RSVPs for you guys to join the April 29th CCP meeting. So that will be where they interview you. Well, the interviews had already happened with CAB, but this is basically taking CAB's recommendation to nominate you and getting that approved. And they may or may not have questions for you, but they will be voting on appointing you officially to CAB. And that's April 29th, Friday, April 29th at 10:30.
10:30, okay.
And I am not staff to that, so once that's posted, we'll get that agenda packet over to you that has the link to Zoom. And if it is going to be by Zoom, I anticipate it's going to be by Zoom. But we'll get that information to you.
Perfect. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
and Scott, for your information, we've got some salient points from when you were interviewed, and we'll be presenting you with about 2 or 3 bullets. And then we'll go from there, you know, when we ask for your nomination. So it'll be set up for you. And if you want to comment, if they have questions, fine. If not, then we just move on.
So no pun intended with my career that you said serve them up with bullets.
Oh, come on.
Which direction are those going to be going? Do you know?
Yeah, excuse me. What is it? The Washington.
Bullet points.
Hey, with Wizards, then, you know, what is it? The Washington
Yeah.
Bullets changed their name to the Wizards. Well, that's.
I told you I have a sense of humor, so.
There we go, always.
So your first meeting, Scott, if you are choosing to join this subcommittee, although depending on where Lenita is going to sit, we might have to talk about that, but regardless, that May 3rd special meeting, that is the next meeting for this group, would be your first official voting member
Right on.
meeting.
Cool.
Great.
And then your general meeting would be May 12th.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're right at that time. We did need the 2 hours, and the doggone PowerPoint, as we anticipated, would take the type of time that it did. So unless there are any other questions, announcements, or comments, we'll adjourn our meeting, and we should be right at 12:30.
Yeah.
And we will see you at our next meeting, which will be May the 3rd, our special committee meeting. That will be at 11 o'clock, and thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody that joined.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.